Quick warning for today's Jim's podcast episode. There's a few things that are discussed that people might not be comfortable with about biohazard removal and what comes with that. So if you're a bit squeamish, please take this as a warning and tune out. But if not, please continue to listen to the episode.
I've seen some really wonderful ones where there's just feces just mounded up all over the place.
Wow.
I think my worst one was there was about 7 or 8 inches of feces in a whole bathroom.
So welcome back to the Jim's podcast. And we've got Tony from Jim's Hazardous Material Noble Park who's coming today to talk about more of the hazardous materials side of the division, which I'm really keen to talk about in a minute. But first of all, Tony, how long have you been with Jim's for?
Just on 4 years now, sir.
And what were you doing prior?
I did chemical waste treatment for about nearly 30 years.
Wow, okay. And then how did you then come involved with Jim's?
I was looking for a different direction to go to, and when I saw the Hazmat, I thought, well, it's along the same path but a slightly different direction, and so it's your own business, so you get to take control of everything yourself, and I thought, yeah, you can actually do something a little different, but you know.
Yeah, and how have you been enjoying it?
It's a bit of a strange one. I said, I know myself, I'm a very different sort of person, so I like being different, and it's allowed me to be different in a way where I still follow the Jim's steps, but I'm doing something that's on a side track to most other people doing it. So.
Yeah. So do you want to talk a bit more about that?
Well, yeah. When I first started with Jim's, they mentioned that we were looking at going into the Biohazard area, and I thought, wow, this sounds interesting. So I stuck my hand up, and I thought, with some of the things that I've done, I don't think I'm offended by things like smells or whatever I see. So I thought it's something I could really have a crack at.
Yeah, so biohazards. So what sort of stuff are you doing in your business that falls under that banner?
A biohazard is such a diverse thing, but it usually contains anything to do with the body. So you have blood cleanups, you have sewage, vomit, sort of urine smells. I've dealt with animal feces. I've done hoarder cleans, food waste. Oddly enough, I've even cleaned out a tofu factory once. Tofu factory? Yes.
Wow. So let's talk about this. This must be interesting for people who've got no idea about this sort of stuff. So how do these, who are the what types of jobs? Are these like crime scenes, or are they what are these? How are these coming into you?
Crime scenes, yes, but it's also things like just a death, even just an unattended death, even suicides, anywhere where there's body fluids put down places, because most people will not, especially cleaning up after a loved one, they just can't handle it. So that's when they call us in to clean up. And I've been into places where the family have even refused to even walk into the house, like they open the door and say, go in and have a look and fix it up for us,
I think a lot of people don't want to think about it, Tony, but that's a very common thing. It's a part of life, with people dying, unfortunately, maybe by themselves in a home, and they might have been a bit of a hoarder or something, and who do you call? Because I don't think people would think naturally Jim's. So is that the type of customers that are calling you? And
absolutely. It's such a strange range of how I do get calls. I've had one where the person's passed away, not in the house, but his whole family are interstate, and they wanted the whole property emptied out.
Right.
So he's just got a lot of stuff, and they just wanted it all out of the house. So it's just simple jobs like that, or there could be blood, or I've had houses where they've had 3 or 4 very large dogs around the house for years on end. And
how common is this stuff? Because for me, it has to be quite common, but it's not something you hear about a lot. But I think people have to go through this a lot of the time with an older loved one or a family member or something like that. So
it's more common than you realise, and sometimes it's you don't hear about it a lot, but when you get into the business, you find out there's a lot of it going around.
Yeah.
More prevalent in, say, the older people, where typically they want to stay at home.
Yes.
And they're either not that there's a physical problem or a mental problem, and they're not mobile as much, so they just accumulate stuff on the ground. So you end up with a very large cleanup just from someone just doesn't want to go outside the house.
Yeah, they hoard stuff when they don't manage the house too well, and things get out of control. And
then if you've got things like food waste on top of that, where you have packets of food sitting on the floor for weeks or months, going green and whatever flavour it comes up, it just it makes it a real challenge at times.
Well, I've gone through this with my mother-in-law recently. She was like that, big hoarder and just independent and didn't want to go. And the process of actually getting the place done, who do you go to?
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those things. So you guys can do the whole management of the whole thing. So if someone goes, right, I don't know, I can hear this, my mum needs some help or whatever it is, if you guys can do the whole thing if they just go through you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Even if we need to do a clean-up afterwards,
Yep.
we can always engage another franchisee to do the final clean-up afterwards. It's easy done, but we can manage the whole step from point A to point B right through.
Well, I think that'd be very handy because we went through it and having to go to multiple people is just a pain. So having one person like yourself who can manage the whole thing and get everyone in and do it and actually have the place cleaned properly, I think something that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I've even had jobs where I've enlisted the Jim's mowing guys because when you go to the house, you got 6 feet of grass in the front of the house. And, it's one of those things where you need us to get everything started, but there's other franchisees that will finish everything off.
Yeah. And what types of other jobs are you doing? So there's obviously hoarder cleans, and if someone passes away, like you can sort out the whole thing, which I think is great to know and great for people to know. What else do you do?
Well, within the biohazard, I've done things like sewage cleanups, so septic tank backflushes.
Let's talk about that because I don't know too much about that. So sewage cleanups, is it as bad as what it sounds?
Sometimes worse.
Worse, right.
I've seen some really wonderful ones where there's just feces just mounded up all over the place.
Wow.
I think my worst one was there was about 7 or 8 inches of feces in a whole bathroom.
Wow.
And you'd open up the door of the front door of the house, and the flies are buzzing around the house. It was that horrendous. And I literally had to go in there with a shovel and clean up the floor in the room.
Well, how do you even tackle that sort of thing? So you get a call from someone and this is what you've got to come into. Like, how do you tackle it? Like, what equipment do you use and how do you sort of go about doing it?
It does really vary from job to job. So there is a degree of problem solving to it. There's rarely biohazard jobs that are the same. So trying to say to someone, this is how you do a biohazard job, doesn't work because every job has its, quirks to it. So sometimes, like I said, with that job, I had to go in there with a shovel. I've had to go in there and scrub floors. I've had to pick up syringes. So you've got to change how you pick up things because you need tongs and stuff because you don't want to get on the wrong end of a syringe.
Yeah. So, and with the sewage stuff, is there anything else? Like you mentioned the bathroom situation. Is that a common thing or is it...
One napful, no, but the backflushing, I have seen a lot of that, especially what they call grey water, which is just the water coming back, which is, it's not the best, but it is still this water, but you still need to sanitise the room afterwards. So.
Right. And how long does that thing sort of take? Like, I know it's a massive job you're talking about, but I'm curious about that. So you got all that stuff to get rid of. Like, how long does it take for you to get it back to like an inhabitable state or...?
It depends on the level of contamination. Sure. So if it's just a grey water... just a grey water incident where the water's just splashed back, it could take an hour and a half to clean a room down.
Wow.
You've basically got to get rid of all the water that's in there and then sanitise ceilings, walls, floors, fittings, everything. Yep. So it could be a hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yep.
That one where I had to shovel stuff up, that was about 6 hours to clean one room.
Wow.
So one bathroom. Because you not only had to get it all out of there, but then you had to make sure it was all clean. So you had to get into the grout, into all the corners, all those places where you just don't normally see, like especially behind the toilet, behind the sink. It does test your reach.
I can think of the best before and after photo that you could. That was just amazing hearing that sort of stuff. Now, what other biohazards are there that you come across?
Generally, with the biohazard, like I said, animal feces. I've dealt with. Animal cat poo.
Now, that's someone who doesn't maintain their property well. They've got pets or they've had multiple pets, and that's sort of where you come in with it.
Yeah, or I've had interesting ones where in an old person's facility they needed to do some work on their bird cage.
Right.
And the bird cage had to be cleaned before they did the work because the bird poo is pretty hazardous.
Mm. Right.
So,
and is there any other types of biohazards as well that you want to mention?
Really, it just comes down to most of the body stuff. So that's most of what we do. It just varies on how we do it. So, as I said, things like blood, vomit, feces, urine. it just comes in where it ends up and how it comes there.
Now, how do you clean blood? So that's what I'm curious about. So I'm sure, how do you do that?
Blood it's a really interesting one because most of the time what I do with blood is I just try and get as much of it off the surface as I can. Yep. So it's a lot of hard wiping and so forth, and then I use a hydrogen peroxide solution, which breaks down the outer cell of the blood and it kills the blood. And so you get a sanitising and a cleaning effect as well. And it also tells you any spot that you've missed because when you spray hydrogen peroxide on blood, it fizzes and foams.
Right.
So if you spray it on there and you think it's clean and you've got a spot that's fizzing, which shouldn't be, you go, well, I've missed a spot. So it helps you get a proper clean.
And I was going to say as well, how what type of people are using your services? Like, are you getting a lot of referrals now, or is it just people who know you, or body corp managers, or who else?
I've done a lot of work with a couple of hospitals.
Hospitals, okay.
Yeah, originally the hospitals are called up gyms originally.
Right.
And I've helped them out in a couple of issues, but then they sort of pass my number around. So there's no central person at the hospital, but my number sort of goes around between nurse to nurse, because if they're sending a patient home and their house is too bad to return to, they give me a call. So I end up with calls from some of the hospital staff. I've had some community housing groups that I've worked through. It's even like some of the government department groups where they deal with housing.
Yes.
You just end up with some really unusual cases where they look at something and they go,
that'd be quite common. Like if someone passes and you've got to hand back a commission home or something like that, which my mother-in-law were doing with, and she left it in a horrible state. Like, so who do you get in to do that, right? So I think what you've got is a solution which I think a lot of people have, and then you don't see much promotion about it or much awareness around it, but I think it's a very common thing a lot of people would go through.
Yeah, because it really goes beyond what, say, cleaning would do, because a lot of cleaners would...
Don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
They would go no, or they would
so it's where they refuse to go, that's our territory, you know.
Yeah. That's probably a good way to do it. So where they refuse to go, you will go in. But I think it's a very common thing with this happening more and more and more. So are you mainly in your business focusing on the biohazard stuff, or do you do anything else?
I do other things. So I do the full gamut of hazmat, so asbestos, mould.
Yep.
I've done fire and smoke cleaning. We're looking at split system cleaning as well.
Okay.
Methamphetamine decontamination. So I'll do the full gamut.
Yeah.
But my favourite tends to be the biohazard.
Your favourite's the biohazard.
I seem to like that a bit more.
Why do you like it?
It's just a challenge.
Yeah.
It's just a challenge. And the really weird thing is, like, I don't think I've found anything that's really offended me too much.
Right.
I've worked with a couple of people that I've heard, like, and you can hear the stomach churning in the back corner and yell, but I haven't had that so far as yet. So
is that because you think you just try? It's a massive challenge. Because for me, like, I presume a lot of people do cleaning, for example. They like the challenge of doing that.
Yep.
But yours is probably the next level, right?
Yeah, you have the problem solving aspect first. You look at something and you're solving a problem to start with. So you're ignoring the fact of it's someone's body fluids, or someone may have killed themselves, or someone's left this behind.
Yeah.
What you're ignoring the reason why it's there, but you're looking at it as a problem to solve. And then once you solve the problem, you go out there, and then the other people can go back into that place where they wouldn't go in beforehand.
Well, I think it's an amazing job because it's very much needed. I think a lot of people, when they have those issues, they don't know who to go to. So I'm glad we can talk about this to really get Hazmat promoted as this, because I think it's a really much needed solution. But in regards to the problem process, like, how do you identify? Like, you get a call from someone, like, what's the process for the customer, and how do you go through it?
A lot of the times I have to tell the customer I have to look at the job.
Yep.
There's very rarely you can get around without physically looking at the job, because you've got to understand all the associated problems with it, because they may say, there's blood on the floor.
Yes.
But then you go there and there may be something like the access may be poor, or there may be something else in there, or you've got to go through all the steps that you need to look at. So you go have a look at the problem, you isolate the problem, work out the steps. And then work out where everything has to go at the end of the day.
And what about the training side of it? Because it's not something where... is this from your prior experience, or how do you sort of get the knowledge?
I did the IICRC, what do they call it? Crime and trauma training.
Okay, yeah.
Which doesn't go through a lot on how to handle each individual problem because they've found the same thing I have. Everything's so different.
Yeah.
So you got the basics on how to keep yourself safe, how to look at each problem, and then you learn after that. So I had to learn a lot cause sort of being the first one to do it.
Yeah.
I was learning a lot. Google helps sometimes. You find what interesting ways and means.
Yeah.
But now, what happens now is there's a few other franchisees going to that step, and quite often I get a phone call.
Now you're giving all the support.
Yeah, I've got this problem. How do I fix it? So I said these are the steps I've used to fix it in the past.
And as you said, that's just some of experience and a bit of Googling and all sort of stuff and seeing what works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was going to say as well, you think you've been with gyms for 4 years now. What have you liked being a part of gyms, or what have you liked about it?
It's your own business, and for me, it hasn't pigeonholed me into you must do it this way.
Yeah.
It's allowed me to go out and do something absolutely different and be strange and unusual all by myself. With people sitting there going, well, that's a good thing,
Yeah.
it's
very counterintuitive because when people join a franchise, they think you've got to be only doing these rules and strict, whereas I think you have a bit of freedom with gyms, with how you're doing your business, I guess, to do what you want, how you want to do it.
Yeah, and so it has allowed me to do that. And,
good. And how's the support from the team been?
It's on a business platform. It's been really good.
Good.
From the Biohazard point of view,
you were the pioneer, though. You sort of built it. Yeah.
No one else has been able to help me too much on that thing because of
that's been your initiative, and you had to develop it. Yeah. And what about the business side? Then, how's it been?
It's gone through a bit of ups and downs. It's progressing along. I'm starting to see Biohazard starting to come through a bit more.
Awesome.
Which is really good because the money on Biohazard can be really good. So
as it should be, because it's something where it's a massive problem and people just want to get it fixed, and it's very rare to find a company, I reckon, that can do it the way you're saying.
And some of the worst, if you know. Yeah.
I just think it's a great service to promote because, as I said, I've said it 3 or 4 times already, but we went through this recently, and it was just an absolute pain. Multiple parties, and people will come and look and don't want to do it, and it is just a nightmare. Whereas I think if they can just call one person like yourself, Tony, it's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, and absolutely. And when it's not the fact of I can't. You don't get me coming in and I can't do it anymore because I walk in there and go, okay, I can fix this. There's ways and means that I can do it.
Well, people don't have to wonder if Tony's going to do the job or not because you won't refuse anything from the sounds of it. So you don't have to wonder. No matter how bad your job is, just get Tony and the team involved and I'm sure you can do it. Now, with your... you mentioned the other services as well. How often do you find yourself doing much of the asbestos or the identification or...
That's going down. I find that's less and less,
right?
Because I do prefer the Biohazard.
You're shifting yourself to do more of the Biohazard.
So I tend to lean into that a bit more. So, but occasionally I do the asbestos job, and I'll help some of the other franchisees with their asbestos jobs.
Yeah.
I do some mould, but as I said,
from the sounds of it, it sounds like you've made your business to be the Biohazard man.
If I could do nothing but Biohazard, I'd be happy.
Right. Yeah, and it sounds like you're getting referrals from your hospital and from the aged care facilities and things like that. Because I think it's the one thing where it's who does this sort of thing, right?
Yep.
And I think you're the man who can do this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, is there anything else about the service I haven't asked you that you want to share? Is there any stories, or is there any ones that you've been proud of, or any situations?
I just find for me it's the change that you provide in a situation. So you go into a house and the house is in really bad shape. Like when you go there, because of what we're doing, the house is in terrible shape.
Yeah.
And when you leave, people can return to it. So it's probably different from the other franchisees where when you do a clean, you may see a difference, whereas us, the difference is night and day.
Absolutely.
It goes from where people refuse to walk in, where people will walk in and go, we can return.
Is there anyone you're proud of recently that you can think of?
There's quite a few that I'm proud of. I said the suicide clean where I had to remove blood out of several areas. I said it was returned back to a safe condition. Just finished another one recently where it was just a hoarder clean where I just had to remove everything out of the house.
Well, how common is hoarding? Because I think that's I've experienced with some of my relations. So how common is it in the community?
It's common. Yeah. It just depends because sometimes hoarding has different problems on its own. Like sometimes people just have a lot of stuff, so it's not dirty per se. It's just too much stuff, so you've just got to go removing stuff.
Yeah.
But then there's times where people are just dirty, or there's other things, like I said, there's food waste or something in there, so you've got other problems you've got to deal with. So,
and how do you tackle with the person around there still? Because do you do it a lot of time when the person's there still, or how do you?
Sometimes we do. That can be tricky, especially with hoarders, because the reason why they've hoarded in the first place, they don't want to let go of things. So you're trying to take away things, and they're trying to hang on to things, so that can be very difficult.
Yeah. How do you deal with that then? Because a lot of people might be thinking those American shows like the Hoarders and stuff where they see this. So is that literally similar stuff that
I've had cases like that?
Wow.
And it's more often that the family have gotten me into there. So it's not the owner that's but the family have got me house, and they may have removed the person from the house for whatever means, and they've just told me,
do it.
Remove stuff.
Right. And how do you tackle it when the person's there? I'm sure that
can be tricky, because you find people that just want to hang on to things. They want to examine everything you're throwing away. There's a bit of diplomacy. You've got to.
You must be a psychologist in a way, I guess, when you.
Sometimes, I mean, and sometimes you have people say things, and you just think,
I think it's more of a psychological problem anyway, from what we see. But very much needed that solution. I'm sure it happens a lot. Now, is there any situation where you won't do, or you've come across that you said, no, I won't do that?
It's only when it's unsafe. It's only when it's unsafe. Yeah. And more often than not, I'll find a way to try and make it safe. But if it's unsafe, just no can do. I've still got to look after myself at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And what type of equipment do you use in your business?
It varies. It's unusual. I said, use shovels, rubbish bags, skips. As I said, any sort of cleaning device that you get. It just varies on the job.
Yeah.
Sometimes the back of my van looks like a disaster area just because I carry so much different things. It's vacuum, steam cleaner.
Yeah. And what about disposing of this stuff? Like, was there a special place you go to, or how does that work?
It depends on the type of product you get, type of waste you're getting rid of. So things like blood and any other, like brain fluids or that sort of thing. They come under medical waste, so you have to treat them specifically. But things like feces and urine and things like that have come out the body and normally come out the body, they don't have the same sort of disposal. You've still got to,
Yep. I get you. And what does the typical week look like for you? Like, how many sort of jobs do you do a week, or what does it look like?
Usually 1 to 2 bigger jobs, where a bigger job might be a whole day or 2 days, and then just filling in smaller jobs, like an hour job here, an hour job there, around the rest of it.
Right. So one bigger clean or one bigger job over 1 or 2 days, then a little bit around. Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes a couple of bigger jobs. It just works like that. But then you have the jobs where you're an hour here, an hour there, and you try and.
And do you enjoy the schedule you've got currently? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah. Sometimes you wish you could get it a bit tighter, but with Hazmat, we do cover a fair bit of territory, so we do put a fair few kilometres on ourselves. So sometimes the schedule can be a bit difficult, but
And you're doing jobs all around Melbourne, Victoria.
I've travelled in sort of unusual places, and
What sort of place are you going to for this?
Let's see, I've been down to Phillip Island, I've been to Geelong.
Wow.
I've done jobs in Warrnambool, Bonnie Doon.
It's a big area.
Yes. You just get unusual calls and you say, can you go out here? And it's like, I can do that.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it wouldn't, like for me, as I said before, I keep saying it, but like for me, it's great to know we got this solution with what you do, because I think as the population gets older and older and older, this is something which people need to have, and they don't know who to call, or they have to call 5 different people, and 3 rock up don't want to do it, or they might charge you a premium, where you can just one person they can call, which is yourself and other franchisees, and you handle the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what people tell you in terms of the experience, or what feedback do you get from your customers?
I get the feedback that they're happy with the job that's done. They're happy that they can return into the house.
Yeah.
They can go to the next step, if whatever the next step is.
Yeah. I guess it's pretty valuable service what you do, because if they need to sell it, or if they need to be handed back to the Victorian housing or whatever it is, like you actually can do that. Whereas I don't think many other businesses can do the full scale solution of what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think because of the knowledge you've got as well from your previous job, does that help you a lot with what you're doing, or not really?
It helps, because sometimes with the chemicals you use, you always have a really unusual knowledge base on chemicals.
Yeah.
So I said I do get asked a lot of the times about different chemicals for different reasons.
Yeah.
So that does help me.
Yeah.
I think I told my kids once I haven't had a normal job for over 30 years.
And you like that fact? You like it? Yeah.
It's something to say.
Yeah. And what's the best part of being about with gyms?
I find it's your own business.
Yeah.
You look after yourself.
And I think you've got a really unique offering, what you're talking about now. Even though it's under Hazmat, I think you're the Hazardous Material Removal. I think what you're saying is just an absolute goldmine of a service because it's going to be so much needed in the future and now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what type of customers, as you said before, so nurses in hospitals, if they've got customers, or you mentioned aged care, which I think is a really good one.
Aged care, some of the government departments.
Government departments, this would be a great one for government departments because they need people they can trust.
But just about anybody can find themselves in a situation where you have a loved one that dies. I mean, it's not just old people, it can be young people as well. So
and you guys can just take care of it, which I think is the main thing for people to get away from this. So is there anything else, Tony, I should have asked you which I haven't asked you? Or
I think that covers it all. Yeah.
All good. Well, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. Really much needed service. I've said it a lot during this, but I know how hard this is because I've gone through it with my mum before and I didn't know we did this. So this was the thing where I'm just trying to pull it out because it's such a no-brainer of a service and one-stop shop, and you can actually make those places livable again. So thank you for your time today. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ta.